Hey guys, so I am back with my 1.7.10 tutorial for Minecraft modding. Um, Sorry, I'm not feeling too great. So today we're going to work on items, and so this is actually going to be pretty easy if you know what you're doing. I'm actually going to open up my cheat stuff so I don't make any fatal mistakes. We're going to reopen my Phoenix Tech Core in a new window, and I'm just going to bring it over here. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to create a new item or a new class underneath tutorial mod. We're going to create a new package and we're going to call it items. Inside of items, we're going to create a new Java class called ingots. As today we're going to make an ingot. So there's ingots. And then we're also going to, underneath the same class, create a new package for base. So underneath of items, you're going to create a package called base, and then underneath of base, we're going to create a new Java class called base items. And then from here, we are going to start working with this. So the first thing we need to do is extend base items. Extends item. So we're extending the Minecraft item. We're going to call for a public static base, or we're going to call for base items. I don't really need it static, but so public base items, and we're going to feed that a unlocalized name. So this is actually a string, so string unlocalized name. We're going to give it a super, and that's just this semicolon. Next, we're going to give it a unlocalized name. So this dot set unlocalized name, and we're going to feed it our unlocalized name and semicolon on that. This is all we really need to create an item, but there are a few things that we can add to this to make it a little bit easier for creating items in the long run. This could be implemented into ingots if you want each ingot, if you wanted to do this code for each ingot. I use base items because that way I can reference ingots to base items and pull all the information of what we just handled. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to now go ahead and start working on actually telling the system how I want it to build the unlocalized name. You can do that, so you can leave it exactly as is and it'll work, but I like mine to be in a specific format. So what we're going to do is we're going to override the unlocalized name, so this right here. We're going to override that. So at override, we're going to override our get unlocalized name. So public string, we're going to get unlocalized name, and we are going to feed it at a new, or we're going to get a string out of it. So we're going to say, I want you to return a string formatted as item dot %s. Not entirely sure exactly what this is, but basically the %s says, hey, add this before the rest of the text. And then we're going to call for our mod ID. So reference.mod ID, reference.mod ID, and we are going to give it a plus with the colon, and we're going to add get our unwrapped unlocalized name. We haven't created this class yet, so it's going to throw an error, but we'll set this up in a sec, or it's not a class, it's a method. We'll set this up in a little bit. So we're going to call for our super, and our super is our get unlocalized name, semicolon. We're going to copy this exactly, and we're just going to add one parameter into it. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to paste that, and we're going to call for item stack. We don't have to do this. This is just in case you want to change information for only the item stack. You could have it where every time you add one item to the item stack, it increases one and stuff like that. And we're going to call that item stack. The next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to create our get unwrapped unlocalized name. So we're going to create that. We're going to change object to a string so that we're getting a string out of that. And then we also have to return, wow, fail. So we have to return something. In this case, it's saying that we're returning null. We're actually going to be returning a string. So we're going to say return string, which is not string. It's going to be our unlocalized name dot substring of unlocalized name dot index of. We're going to feed it a period, so it's going to look for a period. Now the thing about this is if we left it like this, it would still leave the period because it counts to the period and not including the period. So we do want to add 1 to the end of that so it encompasses that period. And that's how we wrap the unlocalized name. Now if we wanted to be able to make modifications to the actual way that it looks in your inventory, like add colors and stuff, we can easily do that by overriding the get item stack display name. So we're going to say public string get item stack display name, and we're going to feed it an item stack and item stack. I spelled something wrong. It's get item stack display, make sure I hit a Y, name. There we go. And this does need to be overridden, so at override. And then here we can return, and what we're going to actually be returning is a color or a format. We could do bold, caps, so we could say this is the same way as we did with the colors for the chat. It's enum chat formatting dot, we're going to say gold since that's what we did before, plus we're going to actually call for Minecraft's stat collector. So stat collector from Minecraft utility, and we're going to say translate to local, and we're going to say this dot get unlocalized name inefficiently. We don't need it to be done efficiently here, and we're going to call for item stack, and then after item stack we're going to add the dot name to the end. So we're going to say dot name, and we can throw a semicolon on the end of that. And this is formatting it to be in a gold format. We should actually put the this here. It's just good measure saying, hey, make sure that you format correctly without screwing up the stat collector. And then after this, we need to register an icon to it. So we're going to at override, and we're going to do an at side only. Side only. Side only just says, hey, you just run on the side that I tell you to, which in this case we're saying I want you to run on the client side only. So images can only be rendered on the client. There's literally no purpose otherwise. And we need to be doing this for the register icons method. So we're going to say public void register register icon register icons, and we're going to have to call it from the icon register. So icon register and icon register. That should fix any problems that we have there, and we can return our unlocalized name. Actually, no, I'm sorry, we're not returning anything. This is a void. We're actually getting an we're actually setting our icon. So we're going to say the icon register is equal to our icon register, hang on. No, I'm sorry, it's item icon. Item icon, there we go. Item icon is equal to the icon register, which is registering our icon. And we're going to say this dot get unwrapped or get unlocalized name. And we want to get our substring for that. And we're going to say we want the index of. So index of period. So we're calling for our period index, and then we're adding 1 to it to encompass that. I feel like I'm missing something. This dot get unlocalized name dot substring. Yes, actually we are. And I put this in the wrong spot, so just cut that back to the substring. And we're saying this dot get unlocalized name dot index of our character period plus 1 semicolon. There we go. That's what it should look like. So I like to differentiate. We're going to add another line to the end, or another thing to the end of the get item stack display name. We're going to say enum chat formatting dot color is now going to be dark red. Okay. So basically what I'm saying is, hey, anything that appears here needs to be dark. It needs to be gold, unless it's the item ID, where then that can be red. So that's how we're doing that. This registers the icon same way as I'm getting the unlocalized, the unwrapped unlocalized name, but we're never calling the unwrapped unlocalized name, so we actually have to do this again, where we're actually shortening it out. And that's all we have to do for the base items. In ingots, there's exactly one thing that we have to do. We have to extend our base items. Once that happens, you can click Alt Enter and create constructor matching super, and that's actually configured exactly the way it should be already. All we're doing is saying, hey, the super, we need an unlocalized name, so we're going to call for the string unlocalized name. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new package in the tutorial mod, and we are going to call this init. And then inside of, I'm sorry, I meant new package, not that. Okay, so new package init, init. Inside of init, we're going to create a new Java class called init items. And we can get rid of this. And then from here, we are going to use this area to register our items and stuff. So we're going to say public static final, public static static final. We're going to call our base item class, so base items. Then we're going to name our item. In this case, I'm going to call it ingot copper. Ingot copper. We're going to say this is equal to a new ingot. So new ingots, and it wants a name here. We're going to give it a name for ingot copper. So ingot copper. And that's all we have to do here. This allows us to call that item from anywhere. And then I'm going to create a new package underneath the tutorial. We're going to create a new package, not a new Java class. Package, and we're going to call this register. Underneath of register, we're going to create a new Java class called register items. And then underneath of register items, we're going to go ahead and create our public static ingots. So we're calling for ingots here. We're not importing anything because this is a class. Then we wanted void. I'm sorry. Public static void ingots. So from here, we're going to call from our init class. We're actually going to static import it. So we're going to come up here underneath the packages. We're going to say import static com dot, and then we're going to find us. So com.ryodev tutorial mod. We're going to come to init, and we're going to call for our init items, and then we're going to do a period with a star on the end, and then a semicolon. It's going to be gray right now, but it won't be for very long. This is so that we can call this without having to type out our init items. So it'd be like we don't actually have to do this to get our item. It would literally just be ingot copper, so we could just do that instead. Let me get rid of this so you can actually see how that works. We actually do have to register things here, so we're going to call for game registry dot register item, and then we're going to call for our copper ingot, so ingot copper, and we need to feed it a name. We're just going to feed it ingot copper again. Okay, so now we have our ingot copper being registered using our init item, which is linking back to ingots, generating this and using the data from here, from our base items class. The only thing that we have left to do now is go to our tutorial mod and then come down here. I'm going to go ahead and copy, this is all under pre-init. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it here, and we're going to change the name, the text that's here, to register items. So registering items. And then we're going, in order to get this working, all we have to do now is call our register items class, and we need to say we want to register our ingots. We can go ahead and save that. Now the only thing we have left to do is deal with our item class. So let's go ahead and right click on tutorial mod and say open in Explorer, so show in Explorer. Go into tutorial mods, source, main, resources. Here we're going to create a new folder called assets. This is how the assets folder is how Minecraft defines where it's at, where its images and textures are found. So underneath of assets, the next thing that we're saying here is we're actually getting our unlocalized name underneath of the items base items here. Okay, so let's walk through this. So down here we're registering icons, which we're saying is this dot get unlocalized name. Well, our unlocalized name is being gotten here, so we're calling this one right here, because we're not asking for the item stack at this point. We're saying, okay, basically the item stack is if you have different levels of images and stuff. But what we're calling here is, hey, so item dot %%, so that's null and void. Reference dot mod ID. One thing I forgot is dot to lowercase, and same here, dot to lowercase. Okay, so we're saying our mod ID lowercase, so that would be our mod ID is under reference. We called this tutorial mod, so underneath of assets we're going to create a new folder called tutorial mod. Okay, so that's the first part. The colon is the separator. So basically what we're saying is that we're getting that, but Minecraft has a very unique way of setting things. So all we had to do for that was assets tutorial mod, and then underneath this we're calling for our textures. T-E-X-T-U-R-E-S, yes. And then underneath of textures we have items, and we have blocks that we can register here. New folder blocks. Underneath of items, this is where we're going to put our folder. Now, this is where the second part of this comes in. Our unwrapped unlocalized name, super unlocalized name. This is where we're actually getting the name. We actually set it up here with the unlocalized name. So if we go to init items, you see ingot copper here. This is a name that we're setting. So if we take that and we created a new PNG file or JPG file, and we named it ingotcopper.jpg, it would show up here. But the one stipulation is that it does have to be a square, unless you have a custom render, which we don't at the moment. I actually built one already, so we're just going to grab that and bring it up into here. So this is our ingot copper, and we would just paste the name right in there. I'm going to actually go and view show file extensions. Okay, so ingotcopper.png. We don't technically need this open anymore. But that's all we have to do to make an item. It's been registered into the game. We can go in game and actually test it out if we want to. So let's go and do that real quick. Okay, so we have 4 mods loaded. If we come over here and we look for our mod, tutorial mod right here, we'll notice that register items has actually become available. We didn't get an error saying that domain was missing a texture because we've already put it there. But if we go into single player and we go into test, which I believe is a creative world, yeah it is. We actually do have the item working. I'm actually getting rid of it so I can show you. You're not going to be able to find it in the creative menu because we haven't created a creative menu yet. If NEI was installed, we'd be able to see it over here. It would actually appear. But we can say give player 833 because I'm randomly being assigned player ID instead of my own. If we hit tab, it just comes up with that. But you'll also notice one right here, tutorial mod colon ingot copper. So let's go and call for that. So tutorial mod ingot copper will give us item.tutorialmod colon ingot copper.name. After we've made a block, I'm actually going to show you how to get rid of that name and actually set it to copper ingot. But we do actually have a working item. It can be thrown on the ground and it'll be viewable in 3D. Everything is working. We actually do have an item. So that was the items tutorial, and I will see you guys in the next episode. That's all we're going to cover for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys learned something.